Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. If you're new to my channel, then great. This is a new topic. If you've been watching the rest of the stuff on my channel, I don't know if you're into this. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But this is another little branch off that I'm planning on doing for the YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about prepping. This is the very first video. It's going to be the introduction, so I'm not going to go too deep into like specific items to get or how much you should store of this, that, or whatever. The whole point of this video, the whole point of the channel, I've set a goal for myself, a net worth of $1 million. Most of that I plan on putting into the stock market, old coins, silver, gold, precious metals. But I want a way to protect my assets, protect myself, protect my family. And the reason why I set the net goal, or my goal of a net worth of $1 million, is because I can have a net worth of $1 million with 500 laptops, or 20 cars, or 4 houses, or 50 pounds of silver and 10 pounds of gold. There's plenty of different ways I can reach my goal. This is something that I've been fairly passionate about since I was 13. Back then it was more of a joke. Now I've matured to the point where hopefully if you watch this, it inspires you to start thinking about preparing. Maybe I'll, kind of push you over the edge into the prepping world. Maybe this revives prepping for you because you did it for 3 or 4 years like strong, then you kind of stopped, and you need that slight push over the edge. Whatever it is that brought you here to watch this video, thank you for watching it. If you like it, like the video. If you like my content, subscribe. You can hit the bell or you can not. I don't care. I'm still going to make these videos. But let's get into the topic at hand. Prepping. Really simple, easy definition for that is you think something will happen. You want to make sure you are safe when and after it happens until life goes back to normal. Yes, there's probably a better definition on the internet, but that's what I'm going with. And the reason why I have "what" next on the screen is there are probably a few million Americans that are prepping. And there's probably 1,000 different things that they're prepping for. Whether it's an EMP from the Russians, or an ice age, or just an economic collapse, or it could just be a natural disaster. You live on the coast and you get a hurricane every 10 years or so. Whatever the case is, wherever you live, whatever you think might happen, take that in mind and then set goals for yourself. If you think a natural disaster is going to happen, then you should probably, and this is just me guessing, buy sandbags. They don't have to be full of sand. 100 of them could sit on one shelf in a closet, and if you ever needed them, you had them. Most people that deal with hurricanes live close to the beach. They can fill up, from the sand there, or you can dig dirt up from your property. Either way, you've got the sandbags. You store a little bit of water, store a little bit of food, and, maybe some puzzles and some candles and stuff. Basic preps, but you doing that means when a hurricane happens, you're not part of the issue of everyone's rushing to Walmart, HEB, all those places, and buying out everything they have, and it's just chaotic. You can sit back, relax in your home, continue to watch TV until you lose power or internet connection or whatever, and you've got the peace of mind of not stressing out about, am I going to get 2 or 3 cases of water so my family has something to drink for the few days? Am I going to end up having to leave my home and, there's so many people on the road because everyone's trying to get all the supplies? But I was smart enough to spend 5 or 6 months slowly gathering these things, and now I can, live stress-free to a certain extent. I'm pretty sure you're not stress-free when a hurricane's going on. That's just my opinion. So, whatever you're prepping for, set goals, and then determine what you need to get to accomplish those goals, or at least prepare within the category of prepping that you're prepping for. But I will go over a standard items list that no matter what you're prepping for, everyone should get these items. And that is food, water, shelter, protection. The two important items, but they're not, I wouldn't say they're part of the big four, is trading/bartering and rebuilding. So now I'm going to go over those 6 topics. Food, or let's start with water. You can go 3 days without water. If you're pushing it, you can hit, 4 or 5, and there's stories of people, stuck out in the middle of nowhere and they didn't have anything for weeks and weeks. But they were stuck in one spot and they stayed there. They weren't trying to deal with an economic collapse and social anarchy, or, a hurricane where you're constantly moving around and making sure your family's safe, that kind of thing. So, you're going to need water. A small standard amount is 1 gallon per person per day, and half a gallon for each pet that you have per day. And that's drinking. That hasn't included showering, preparing meals, maybe cleaning wounds or something. So, 1 gallon per person per day plus half a gallon per pet. You might use a little less than a gallon. You might use a little bit more. But a gallon is a good, safe rule of thumb to use. So, if you want 72 hours worth of water for one person, 3 gallons. 2 people, 6. And, on and on and on. 72 hours, and going back to the goals, if you want to make sure you have everything you need, start small. Start at a 72-hour mark. If you can get everything you need for a 72-hour mark, then double that. Say I need everything I need for a week, and then a week and a half, and then 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Then, you hit a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It just goes on and on. But water, food. Food's the next thing. Store something that's going to last. If you buy a bunch of junk food, thinking, this is what I'm going to eat if something happens, that food will not last for very long. You need to buy canned goods, MREs, freeze-dried food, stuff like that. And again, this is just an introduction video. I will go much further into detail on everything that I've talked about in individual videos. So water, food, shelter. Shelter's easy. There's 2 things you do as a prepper. You bug in, you bug out. My personal preference is bugging in because I've got probably thousands of pounds worth of preps. And unless I've got a deuce and a half with a trailer, I'm not going to be able to carry all of my preps with me somewhere. Plus, I already have 4 walls and a roof around me. Why would I want to leave? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with bugging out, and if you do plan on bugging in, you should always have a bugging out plan. But for the most part, I am a bugging in person, and so shelter is covered. And how I said earlier, if you're prepping for a hurricane, you store sandbags. I store sandbags. I do live in an area where there could be a hurricane. But if there was social unrest, I've got a glass door to my patio. I don't want a giant area where someone could drive a vehicle through it if they got through the fence, or shoot or break through it. So if I stack sandbags up, put up a piece of plywood, no one's getting in that way unless they're really, really trying. Same thing with shelter. I'll save this for the tips. So, food, water, shelter, protection. You can have all the food in the world, all the water, and means of getting more water. You could have a World War II nuclear bunker. But if you cannot defend yourself, then there's nothing stopping the next Joe from removing you from your place of residency and setting up shop for himself. And if something did happen where you've got probably half of Americans would be out of food and water within 2 weeks. Let's just use that number. If half the Americans were out of food and water within 2 weeks, then that's 160 million people that are trying to find food and water. And I guarantee you they're not going to ask you nicely, and if you say no, they're not just going to walk away. So, a little bit of protection. It can be a firearm, it could be a bow, it could be mace, tasers, swords, axes, anything that you can protect yourself with will work. And I say that because some people don't like guns. Some people live in a place where they couldn't have a really good gun to protect themselves. I'm sorry, I can't change that for you. So then the last 2 items are trading and rebuilding. So depending on how long this scenario lasts, you might need to trade with certain people. That's why I suggest having a few $100s. If you can have $1,000, that's the best thing to do. But have some American cash on hand. Even if it was the end of the world scenario, you're still going to have anywhere from 1 week up to a month, could be longer, could be shorter, of a time period where people will still accept American paper currency. Because they're in the mindset of, well, when the government gets, back up, and, it's not shut down anymore, then I would have made, $400 or $500 because I sold a guy a shotgun and 100 rounds of ammo because he said he didn't have one and he wants to protect his family. When in reality, the government could never come back, and now this guy has a way to hunt birds and feed his family. And you can't eat paper money. You could, it's probably not that nutritious for you. And then trading, or no, that was trading. Then rebuilding. This one is the long-term, worst probability ever, and that's the end of the last scenario, is the government's not coming back. No one's coming back to save you. You need to rebuild society. You need books to teach, new generations. You need tools and part of the books slash part of knowledge on how to rebuild structures, how, like, if the entire world went to crap, you're still going to need carpenters, probably plumbers, doctors, firefighters. Like, every job is still going to need to get filled. Almost every. I don't think we're going to care about, an iPhone factory maker when we need a farmer so that we don't starve versus a new phone. But you're going to have to start over. At some point, the people that are still alive that work within that profession, like, they're not going to be able to teach everyone, or at least enough people to keep that job profession going. So you're going to need the means to rebuild society. Groups. So that's, completely up to you. A group of 2 people prepping, so that's not really good. So a group of 3 people prepping are going to put, most likely, more money and more time into, prepping for a scenario than one person. Now, there's nothing saying that the 3 people are going to be better off than the one person, but normally, the more money you can put into something, the better outcome at the end you'll have. So, if you want to start a group or maybe find a group to join, that's up to you. In my personal opinion, I've got my family, my girlfriend's family, and a handful of friends and their family that I would even consider helping. There's obviously a lot of people that I know that if I could help them, and there's no chance that it would damage me in any way, then yeah, I'd do it. But first comes me, my girlfriend, our animals, and in a very close second, our families. And then after that is friends and their families. You can't save them all. If everyone was prepping, awesome, but everyone's not. So lastly, just a couple of tips. This is definitely one of those hobbies that you can spend thousands of dollars in, but it's not that bad if you're breaking it up by weekly and monthly purchases of, $10, $15 here, $10, $15 there. Maybe a few $100s when you do a big buy. But don't get discouraged. Don't go spend $400 or $500 and then you realize you spent all your money for your preps for the next 3 months. You don't buy anything for those 3 months and you feel like you're not accomplishing anything. Slow and steady. Only put in what you can safely do without, missing bills or anything. But just consistency. It's just like stacking silver. It's just like, collecting shoes or whatever. You're not going to buy 1,000 pairs of shoes in one day and say, oh wow, look at my Nike collection. No, you're probably going to buy, a pair of shoes every couple of months. And then, after a few years, you've got, 20 or 30 shoes. Let's see. Next tip is just be passionate about it. If you feel like something might happen, or in all honesty, I just do it for better peace of mind, then, even if you're not spending so much money, say you went to your library and you would print off recipes, or you'd print off, like, how to build a house, or print off what vegetables are good to plant in each month. And even if you only spend a couple of dollars on that, you're gathering knowledge, you're making yourself smarter, and you're better preparing yourself for what lies ahead. And at the bottom I put, depending on the length of the video, I just hit over 20 minutes, so I'm going to end it here. Like I said, this is the introduction. If you made it this far, thank you. If you like what I'm doing here, like it. Comment on what do you think I should talk about first. Leave your suggestions. Subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to. I don't care. But I'll see you next time.